and welcome back to another episode of the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got Jameson Maxwell, Ty Lee, and excited to do another edition of our good old fashioned dog and pony show, boys. It has been a little over a week since the last time we spoke OU football properly. Lots happened, but most importantly, the Oklahoma Sooners took out the Tulane Green Wave 34-19 in a game that, it's more complicated than the score looks because the Sooners covered, but it was the path to that cover was a bit wild to say the least.
Yeah, we looked really ugly in the second half, but still covered the spread. So OU haters like Bobby and I, who decided to pick Tulane, plus 14, really look bad, and also don't feel good that OU covered the spread with that and then looked bad. Ooh, not a good look for the haters.
Yeah, great call forward to the weekend spread, Jameson. Boat Blake and I are undefeated against U2 when we both pick OU and y'all pick against, which is a tremendous stat. Started at Red River last year when the non-believers said Quinn Ewers is amazing. We'll save that for the future.
Honestly, big picture with this game, though, is people will look at the fourth quarter and how bad it was. And obviously, that's what you should do. You are an OU fan who is extremely worried of how you're going to do in SEC play. And there's been a lot of signs, showing that we have a lot of things to be concerned about. But in actuality, that first half, you've got to be pretty happy and optimistic, because if we could, take that and bottle it up and move it into SEC play, the doomsdayers can at least, say, you know what, maybe we do have some potential here.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that second half, especially that third quarter, really kind of soiled what was otherwise an excellent start to that game. Seth Luttrell put out an excellent script early. The addition of, running Jackson Arnoldmore was great. I thought the defense was solid across the board. But yeah, a lack of focus, a lack of it was just a bit of a flat, start in the second half, but you got to give the Sooners credit for pulling it together and, locking in and closing the game out. So it's one of those where I feel like a lot of people are kind of focusing on the negatives, which is fair. Big game this weekend. Everyone's feeling the pressure about Tennessee. No, we would know that. But, I think all things considered, if you put a stamp on it, I would say the Sooners absolutely improved this week, and not as much improvement as you would have wanted to see to feel super comfortable about Tennessee, but improvement nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my stance on this game has softened actually from during the game and afterwards. And the more I think about it now, the more I think it's almost an exercise in marketing. This OU team came in guilty until proven innocent, and then we didn't see a whole lot of evidence that pointed to innocent, which is a much different thing than innocent until proven guilty. I think a lot of people came into this with a mental idea because of marketing and everyone else is saying it. This OU team is bad. This OU team is bad, which they have been subpar, yes. But I think when you look at this game just neutrally, right, Tulane, I think, is going to clean up their win-loss record as the year goes on. I'm not saying they're a great opponent by any means either, but they're certainly not a bad out-of-conference opponent compared to the teams that a lot of people are playing right now. And I think considering all the injuries and considering everything that's wrong with OU, this wasn't that bad of a game. We certainly did not see the same OU team that we saw against Houston. And I would argue that we actually saw a much better OU team than we saw against Temple even. We saw improvement in a lot of things, right? I've been very harsh on Seth Luttrell specifically, and we did see improvement, right? I'll be the first one to come on here. I won't be the first one to come on here because Bobby beat me to it. I'll be the second one to come on here and say that the game plan did improve. I'm seeing a little bit of improvement from Arnold, and obviously there's some position groups where people are just a little behind. I think I saw a step forward from Deion Burks in this game. Even you saw a lot
even
of
with the
fight.
drop, I thought you were going to come and flame him.
He did have some drops, yes, but he's had fewer drops than past ones, and he had some bad throws. He's been throwing some bad balls this year. But I saw a lot of fight from him. I don't know about y'all, but he looked like a little mongoose out there with the ball a few times. And that was like a level of fight I haven't seen since like CeeDee Lamb and Drake Stoops in an OU uniform. So that was really cool to see from him. I just hadn't seen that before. So we're certainly taking steps in the right direction. When we talk about the offense, the defense, again, some question marks there, and we'll get into that.
And, he needed to fight through it because he's really the only wide receiver out there that is of a, starting caliber. No offense to Zion Reagans and, my guy Zion Kearney, who I love dearly, especially in, college football 25, but they're just not ready for that level yet. And Burks sorely needs help for sure. So we could definitely talk about that a little bit later in the show about potential guys we're getting back. But overall, offensively, let's just start with the main guy. Jackson Arnold has been the hottest topic about the offense, probably the hottest topic about second hottest topic. Well, I take it back. The O-line's the hottest topic, but without the O-line struggling, like the O-line and Arnold are 100% tied to each other. And Arnold in this game, I liked a lot of what I saw. I feel like there are some people on the internet who were ready to pull him after the pick six, but that was really the only mistake he made. I think that was the only egregiously bad mistake he made. I thought he looked a lot more comfortable, a lot calmer in the pocket. The running game was a huge addition. So I really, really thought Arnold was excellent.
Yeah, and the thing is with Jackson Arnold in this interception, he was absolutely blown away surprised that pass rush even made it to him. Our running backs have been not doing a good job this year of blocking the linebackers coming through on the blitz. And that's why you've seen it the past couple games of people starting to do it. And Tulane did it heavy in the second half because they've seen it work and they're punishing our offensive line that they're not going to be able to chip over or help enough. And then it's going to put the running back on an island. And they abused that. And I think Tennessee's going to see the same thing, and they're going to bring pressure to Arnold. He realized, oh, shit, there's somebody right here who's a big, fast middle linebacker, and I'm just going to throw it. That's just a young person mistake, and he will learn that in the future. But in all honesty, I'm not damning him for it. It was unfortunate, and he was not the only one at fault on that play.
Right. I mean, it was you could definitely point to Tatum, missing his block there as a
Tatum's made a lot of, things that, people are talking this season, Bobby, like, oh, Tatum's so good, play him more, but he's doing so many things negative as well as positive that you can't always be a hot and cold player. Like he lost us 7 points if you didn't move up and block his guy there in the gap.
I mean, no doubt. Tatum is a freshman. I believe he was. He wasn't even an early enrollee, correct? Am I right on that?
Yeah.
He's late.
Straight up
he's
fresh.
late.
Yeah.
He came in June.
He's been here several months. Barely any time. That is. Ty, you got it.
Yeah, I was gonna say his first training snaps were Camp Crimson.
Oh God! Come on.
Did they ever bring that back? After COVID, we don't need to get sidetracked on Camp Crimson.
Don't politicize it, Bobby.
Okay. Okay.
I knew it.
I feel like a lot of the issues that Arnold did have were with pressure late. And, if you're a Tennessee fan rewatching that, tape, you have to be salivating thinking about what that defensive line, that incredibly deep, solid D line is, going to do to the O-line. But, I feel like, clearly this is a team that has been holding stuff back. Luttrell mentioned they weren't even planning on, breaking out the quarterback run until Tennessee, but they, the hand was forced because of how bad the offense was against Houston. So I imagine there's still some more stuff, up their sleeve. hopefully it comes on the D line into things though.
I was interested in that quote, Bobby, about hoping they wouldn't bring out the quarterback run, because they've been doing that this whole year. They just did a little bit more. So, what do you think? You're really going to confuse and surprise Tennessee? Then Jackson Arnold's going to be moving up and running, because he's been doing that every game he's played as OU quarterback? ?
I mean, Levy did have an entire system where he just ran them into a bunch of guys. So, you know, and he ran at Geyer too. So it's not exactly like a surprise. Like, oh my gosh, he could run.
Maybe that's what he wants Tennessee to think. He's getting in their head. He's like, damn, I had to pull out my stop at the quarterback run game. What am I going to do? And it's just all getting in their head here.
I don't know. the Seth Luttrell mind games. I don't know. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit here. So once again, a bit of a brutal offensive line performance. I know you can chalk some of that up to just health, not having guys in there. Branson Hickman obviously out, but I thought it was just really rough. Not just because of how porous it was, but because of how disciplined they were. We had too many false starts, too many illegal formations. I don't know.
Tarquin lining off 2 yards from the line of scrimmage. Like, what is he doing? Like, seriously? That was just so weird. I don't know. You know, I can't go after Tarquin, because, like, even though, like, he's not been the flashiest, like, he just does what he needs to do other than the tackling. You know, I feel like a lot of the heat was at Ozeta. You know, I get that. But he's also another young guy. He's going to make mistakes, but he is kind of another hot and cold guy. And maybe we do need to make these risks with Taylor Tatum and guys like Ozeta. Like, Ozeta showed some good things. There's a reason why he got plugged in. He continued for the rest of the game at left guard and got the vast majority of the snaps. We need Sexton at left tackle, because Logan Howland's also too young. And it's just time for Ozeta to go out there and make mistakes and learn. He learned on Gabe and Teddy's podcast. Gabe said, you know, he saw Ozeta make the mistake early in the first half of not, you know, going to his assignment. And then for the next 3 or so plays that we ran the same play, Ozeta and picked up the blitz correctly. So, I mean, you've got to just be optimistic that this is all we need. We need just one guy to step up and learn and get better and progress, because we haven't seen a lot of progression thus far within the offensive line.
And that is 100% the best thing you can get out of a freshman is coachability. The ability to change and take lessons and adapt them that quick is important. And everyone's going to have to learn on the fly. Everyone's going to have to learn fast. But Ty, any takes on the O-line?
Yeah, and I'll give it to one sec. I'll give it to Ozeta. I know he's not like a true freshman. He's like a redshirt freshman. So this is essentially his first year.
Yeah, and Ozeta, I will say, you know, I agree. I think we should trot him out there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on the voice of reason side, right? Because OU fans, it seems in general, do understand the situation that we're in with the line, and everyone's struggling. I will say, and this is not to be a cop-out, but I'm trying to be pretty optimistic here. Mistakes are not necessarily a bad thing, especially if we talk about, you know, coachability, like we talked about Tatum and Ozeta specifically. If they can be coached and they can learn from this, again, we still won the game, and it's still not affecting our conference standings, whether we did or didn't. So, you know, this one, obviously the play time is over and it's time to really perform, but I'm not super bought into, you know, this is the mistakes that we've seen in previous games, even if they are easier, being indicative of what we're going to get the entire season. I mean, that goes from Arnold and on down, really everyone, right? The leash that you're on as your first full year in college football is a very different leash than, say, if you failed at North Texas and are now at Oklahoma, in my opinion.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm really curious to see if, you know, Luttrell pulls out more stops in this coming week. And you always say, like, oh, he's saving up all of his, you know, great plays. A guy who's, you know, a really good play caller should be able to call it versus 3 games of the season. I don't think this is primarily a Luttrell thing. He might have been vanilla, but at the same time, you don't have the toppings to put on your ice cream. Whenever you have this wide receiver and this offensive line. So I think Nick Anderson
coming back for this week, which seems to be all but solidified, is so needed because the wide receiver room, in this game, we can talk fun about seeing Zion Kearney make one catch and then put his foot in the ground. Royce Petaway didn't really look too good for me on his route, on his routes. Honestly, where the hell was, where the hell was like a WR2 on this team? Where the hell was it? We didn't have anyone. It was honestly absolutely embarrassing. Like, where's Brennan Thompson? It went extinct. He went in his head.
Are you talking about WR2 or WR12? Why are you bringing up Brennan Thompson?
Like, where is it? Like, we don't have it.
Hopefully on the practice squad.
Or like, where the hell is he? Like, where did he go?
And I will say, like, maybe we are buying the Thompson hype a little too much because
we have to.
I mean, yeah, but like that doesn't mean make him actually good. I think he just hasn't. He's just kind of been the guy we've seen since he transferred to Oklahoma.
Why aren't we throwing the ball down the field to him? Like, you've got to do that at least once or twice a game. Like, he's too potent of a deep route runner.
I mean, we barely threw the ball down the field at all. Like, I think it was only, one pass over 20 yards?
I'm tired of throwing for 150 yards a game or whatever the stats are, like 150, 200 yards a game. Like, we got to go make some explosive plays here.
I mean, and it's got to come outside of who we have right now. It's got to be someone like an Andrell Anthony or a Nick Anderson coming back. But
yeah, I'd say throw away Andrell Anthony for now. I think it's got to be just Nick Anderson. That's a big time injury he's coming back from. Nick Anderson's is not a big time injury he's coming back from. This is just a quad, that they've been kind of really babying, and it seems like he's been teeter-tottering on coming back for the past couple of weeks. Like, you've got to think that this guy is getting darn near 90 percentile of like his full effect.
Mm-hmm. It certainly is alarming, at least from a layman's perspective, medically, that that Andrell Anthony came back a little bit and then was re-pulled out. Obviously, didn't super re-aggravate, but that's not a tremendous sign from my perspective. Although I know I think you said we were closer to the left edge of that window, Jameson. Is that correct for recovery?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's so tough for his specific thing because he had an ACL with going back and having a cleanup surgery. So that there's either some meniscal or cartilage damage here that pushes back his timeline. You can get back as early as 6 months from these things, but with the cleanup surgery, it's going to push it back into the 8 and 9 months. Mm-hmm. He was on that timeline, but you don't see people get back to their full effect sometimes ever. And then sometimes, well over a year into 2 years and beyond it. If you're like fantasy football guy, that's why people don't draft people coming off of big injuries, because you see their production. It's very consistent. Not a lot of people come off ACLs and Achilles and put out big numbers. And even especially for a guy, and you have the physical therapy of a student at a college versus your job is legitimately to get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say on the receivers, if I were to pick one, right, we all know where I stand on all our receivers, but if I were to pick one, it would certainly be Nick Anderson to come back. I think
he's the biggest storyline of this season right now.
It would be he would almost have to get re-injured to not come back. Knock on wood.
Well, I think he certainly is. From my perspective, right, we can debate this, and we'll have the numbers at the end of the season to make a determination here, but I think he truly is our WR1 if everyone is 100%. I think we see a step forward with him this year, and I think he is. Size helps him a little bit there, but I truly think he is the best receiver on this team. That'll be controversial, but I will say that his stat lines and what he had on tape last year, and this is the obvious take to drop, right? But him coming back will at least get Burks. If you argue, Burks is the better receiver, which again, I'd be happy with either as long as they're both on the field, because that gets Burks out of triple coverage and at least gets us two, I don't want to say competent receivers, right? Because that implies incompetence from the other ones, but two guys who truly would be starters at almost every other D1 major program on the field. And that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge for Arnold. And that's going to be huge for, pulling people out of double, triple coverage as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
We got to be more well-rounded. We're stuck in a corner. We're stuck in a corner with our offensive line. We're stuck in a corner with our wide receiver room, and Nick Anderson coming back. Even if he doesn't come back at full health, you just need it, because a guy like him at 6'4" and a possession type of wide receiver with speed is something that Jackson Arnold does not have in his repertoire right now of wide receiver room. And if he gets down to a point where he is under pressure and he's having to move, this is the kind of guy that you can throw the ball up to, and you can throw a back shoulder, and he can be a possession. He can go win that ball. Do we have a guy on our roster other than him that is healthy that can do that right now? The answer is no.
No. No. We're just handcuffed on that end.
Yeah.
And the O-line really kind of, obviously the receivers hurt, but the O-line also being hurt really just collapses everything. The running game hasn't been what it needs to be. Obviously Arnold had a good day, but Javonte Barnes was just kind of okay. Again, nothing from Sawchuk, who I think his style just doesn't work with a bad O-line. He needs a little time, a little patience to find those holes. Taylor Tatum looked really good at times running the ball. We've already talked about him a bit, some of his deficiencies as a more of a holistic back, but I thought he looked good at times. Obviously getting in the end zone is great, but
and a running back pass, throwing to the running back was astounding. It was something we haven't done the whole season.
Something that the signs were there. I was calling that out preseason. Arnold and Venables both had specifically called out Tatum's ability to add layers to the pass game. I've been very pro Tatum for sure. I think the most pro, right? I chose him to latch onto preseason and have been hyping him up a little bit. I will say that we do probably need to be cautiously optimistic with him. There is the potential that one, I think he's tremendous. I think next year he's going to be ridiculous, and I think he has a real NFL future ahead of him. But there is the potential that some of his early success, because his production kind of dropped off in this game, was just a matter of he's not on tape, and Tulane's defense is maybe reading into, okay, this is who's out here, and they just made the wrong assumptions, and we were able to slip one in because they just thought that we were going to run something else based on personnel schemes. Just a little deception there, and in layering him in, there might have been a confluence of OU scheme and then Tulane reading into the wrong scheme there that maybe generated some of that early production for sure. But big pro Tatum, but we got to be realistic.
Yeah. And the thing is, like
not
I
to
said,
you guys, but OU fans.
And going out there and putting him in these situations, it's good for him. It's good to make mistakes. It really is, because he's going to learn from them, and hopefully he can move forward. And then later in the season, you hope to be the guy that he has learned the playbook. He's starting to iron out some things that he's messing up. And if he's truly our most talented running back, then he propels himself right in there. I don't know about y'all. We've heard a lot of positive things about Javonte Barnes, and I even was a part of it early on in the season. I don't know how into him I am moving into the future. It's just, do you see much from him, especially in this Tulane game, where you go like, I am excited he has the ball right now. He's going to go out there and make a play. I just feel like he's not going to go and make a play. And I don't know how much that's the offensive line versus I just feel like he just runs full speed and then doesn't ever press circle or juke button and just moves.
He's fine. He's just fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't need just fine right now.
I know we want a feature back.
Everything is just fine.
No, I get it, Jameson. You want a feature back, but what you're getting is meat and potatoes. And that's the thing, is that's the only thing that's working right now, because your feature flashy back can't do anything because he needs to. That's just not how he runs. We don't have an Adrian Peterson that can do everything in this backfield. We have a lot of guys who can do some stuff pretty good, but we don't have anyone who can overcome a bad O-line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what
who we could have used this year.
I'm scared. I'm scared to ask who.
Marcus Major.
We could use Marcus Major.
Oh no!
Look at what he's doing in Minnesota. You cannot say he would be worse than what we have currently. He was a 0-yard specialist. Now we have.
What if we had Mario Williams?
Specialists.
Oh, Mario
Williams.
I mean, he's been decent for Tulane as a whole. He was not very good in this game. He wasn't bad, but I think it was more on the defense, just shutting him and everybody else down from the wide receiver core. But guys, okay, so let's move on from offense. Got a lot to cover here with the Tennessee preview, which I'm sure a lot of folks listening will want to hear. So let's give out game balls. Who do you got for the offense? I think it's kind of got to be one guy.
Next.
It's Arnold. Jackson
That's
Arnold.
easy.
169 passing yards, 18 for 29, in terms of completions and attempts. 3 total touchdowns, 1 pick, the big blemish there, and then 97 yards on the ground. Pretty good stuff for Arnold. He will need to be even better this week against Tennessee. So moving on to the defense, 19. Well, they didn't give up 19 points because one of those was a pick 6. So only gave up 12 points defensively. Another strong showing overall, and I think Arnold did. I wouldn't say that they won the game wholly for him, but they certainly closed the door on him when they needed to. Overall, I was pretty impressed. That first half, again, just absolutely locked down, solid work. You saw a little bit of slippage here and there overall, but nothing overall concerning, I don't think. Just another great performance from the D.
It was honestly a stellar game. Yes, they lost a little steam in the third and fourth quarter, but I wanted to wait to talk about this, but my God, R. Mason Thomas in that fourth quarter. Legitimately, him doing that, what I've been saying this whole offseason, even last year and into this season, every podcast, if he could go out there and be disruptive and finish plays, this defense is going to be one of the best in the country. That was an unbelievable run he went on. Having a potent defensive end you can get to the quarterback is how, if we want to squeak out next week versus Tennessee, you need a pass rush to get at Nico. And R. Mason Thomas has got a lot of momentum with how he ended this game.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. R. Mason Thomas, I mean, a guy we've been talking about, a good bit in the preseason. Really, and it's funny when you look at it because you're like, wow, what a pretty solid stat line. It really all just kind of showed up at the very, very end. But I mean, talk about a guy just showing up and saying, nope, this game's over. And I got to say that pressure is going to be key. And I know we had a really good conversation, Ty and I did, with Channel TN, which you should absolutely check out. We'll put the link in the description here because I thought it was a very good, solid, balanced conversation about OU Tennessee. That pressure is going to be key because Nico, even though he's looked just excellent this season, and he says he loves road games and he likes those more than home ones, he's still never played in a true road game. And whatever he was having out in California, on the high school circuit isn't going to be remotely close to what he's going to get in Norman on Saturday. So I'm intrigued to see how he does. I think it's a real opportunity to shake him a bit. I guess we will find out whether or not he can handle that pressure, and OU's got to send it, or else it might be a really long night, because that's kind of one of your paths. One of the ways you beat Tennessee is by turning Nico over and capitalizing off that. If you can find a way to do that, I think that is something that would really, really help OU, kind of cover some of these deficiencies.
Yeah, and underappreciated because Nico is so good, potentially on a very legitimate Heisman run, I would say, this year. One of the underrated things about Tennessee's offense so far, and there is the little caveat of their schedule to date, but their running has also been pretty tremendous. And R. Mason Thomas turning on and being able to set the edge, generate pressure, and then potentially maybe blow up some plays in the backfield, or at least change or cut down their timeline to make decisions in the backfield is going to be huge in taking the load off the linebackers and off Danny Stutzman, especially. So it'll be really interesting to see what we're able to, I hope we throw the book at them in terms of defensive schemes. Like, it's this game, this atmosphere, the eyes that are on us right now, we cannot be, we're not in a position to try to save anything for anywhere. So it'll be really exciting. And yeah, R. Mason Thomas, the momentum that he has rolling into this game could not be more perfect, because it really was a situation of, and I think the weather a little bit the heat, and I don't know what the time of possession spread looked like for a little bit, but you could tell our defense got a little gassed, and I don't think they're poorly conditioned whatsoever, but you could tell that late game wear was on them. So excited for the night game, helps a little bit with that heat and with that wear, and excited to see the momentum that these guys are on, because the way the game ended defensively was conclusive and convincing. It wasn't a OU escaped Tulane. It wasn't a, we just had a better score and they didn't have enough time to catch up. It was very much OU started to play a little subpar for whatever reasons, and then the defense said, nope, we're going to lock in and we're going to shut this down. We're going to finish this game, and that could not have been a better end to that game. So very excited as that rolls into Tennessee.
Yep. Let's move it back a little bit as well. Talk about the linebacking core, anchored by just another solid performance by Danny Stutzman. 12 tackles overall, 6 solos. The dude is a beast, and it's hard to find ways to talk about him because you know exactly what you're going to get out of him week after week after week, and he was just an absolute stud this week. All of the linebackers I thought were great. What did you think, Jameson?
Danny just continues to show growth, and he's in the right spot a lot of the times. He's just cleaning up every play. You look up and who made the tackle? It's Danny, and if he didn't make it, he's standing right there. And it's such a valuable piece of this defense, having, other great linebacker play next to him as well. It really puts a lot of confidence in this defense to where even with Kendall Dolby out, in that second level of the defense, I'm sad, but I'm not worried because I know he's such a commander of this defense that he could lead us and kind of shore up a lot of our deficiencies.
Yeah, there was a, R. Mason Thomas-esque, we'll give him that shout out, but there was a segment of the game, I think about towards the end of the second quarter, where just every defensive play, no matter where it was just Danny Stutzman. It was like far left side of the field, far right side of the field, in the backfield, deep where the safety should be. It was like play after play after play, tackle by Danny, tackle by Danny, tackle by Danny. So, once again, you know what you're going to get from him, and super, super excited to see what he's going to be able to do against this Tennessee team. Also, shout out to Wes in the chat, anti-Texas unity. For sure.
You feel really good about this linebacking core and this defensive line. Once again in this game too, Bobby, DJ Terry looked very, very good even whenever he went down with an injury. Thankfully, it looks like he's fine enough, and hopefully we shouldn't see any kind of mysterious injuries pop up, kind of like what we did with Dolby. But defensive line looked great. Jane Jackson continues to be that dude. DJ Terry looked great. And then the defensive ends we already touched on. I don't care what anyone wants to say about this defense and what they saw versus Tulane. They think that we should have done. I don't care because I saw an absolutely stellar game from this defense, and it makes me feel really, really confident going into SEC play. Even if our offense isn't there, this defense is really, really going to bail us out in a lot of situations, and all it takes is a couple of turnovers, field possession, and the offense just clicking a little bit to make this defense look even better.
Yeah, without a doubt. Because I feel like some of the fatigue issues do come from, 3 and outs, short offensive possessions. It's kind of hard to not get worn out when, your offense just kind of gets off the field quick. They did a lot better this week offensively, way better on third downs. They're 50% on third down conversion rate, which is so much better than the previous 2 weeks. So I think the defense, I couldn't be happier, really. I guess I could be happier if it was just a bunch of goose eggs across the board. But, in general, you don't want to throw the kitchen sink, at Temple, Houston, and Tulane, with all due respect to Tulane, which I thought, I still think is a really damn good football team that, 2 losses probably prevents you from the playoff. But, under a better schedule, a less intense schedule, this is a team that could definitely, make that run and be in that 12th seed, but it's just not happening this year. Any notes on the secondary, specifically Billy Bowman? That is not his stat line. My goodness, I forgot to update that.
He had the tipped interception. He did some good things. Overall, I don't feel like I need to praise him too much for it. Like it really was tip drill with the interception. I'm happy he got an interception for his numbers whenever it comes down to him and his stock in the NFL draft and awards and everything. Because, what he did last year in his junior year, he got so many interceptions that I don't want to see too much of a drop off to where people would use it against him. All in all, secondary looked good. It's crazy to see that your CB3 and CB4 are out there and you feel still very good about them.
No, I mean, I fully agree. It was just a solid lockdown situation. We're getting a little bit, maybe a bit of an update here. I think Nick Anderson's back.
I already said that at the beginning of the podcast.
I missed it. I didn't know. I thought, sorry, my bad.
Nick Anderson, Jackson Arnold said that Nick Anderson is saying he's going to play.
So. Okay. Well, hey, he's back. That's good. That's awesome. Okay. Game ball for the defense. Got to be probably R. Mason Thomas, right?
R. Mason Thomas, but it's hard. It's hard because the way he ended the game was so stellar and so flashy that you're like, oh, yeah, it's got to be R. Mason Thomas. But at the same time, I feel like this defense played such a well-rounded and good game, this full game for what they were given. And I feel like you still give it to Danny Stutzman as the leader of this defense, and he did so many great things. You can't just give R. Mason Thomas one good thing for one whole, huge.
Yeah, I don't really fully understand what James was saying there. His mic was
kind of went underwater.
But,
I went underwater again.
I think what he was saying was R. Mason Thomas, a bit of a recency bias, just because it was so crucial and so close to the end of the game, versus Danny Stutzman is very consistent.
That is what I said
throughout the whole game.
But I was under the water.
Yep. Yes, it happens. Special teams, by the way. What do we think about that? I need a special teams tab for that.
Can I give out a Tulane defensive game ball?
Sure.
Do you have a guess who it might be?
Seth Luttrell.
It's Seth Luttrell. Right, so special teams.
Man, I got that one.
There you go. Yeah.
You never saw this coming.
I thought special teams was a mixed bag because I liked what we saw in the return game. Sam Franklin had a good one. We saw a little bit.
Now that's a guy that we need returning kicks. Now that's a great answer right there.
That's a perfect answer because you're like, he's not going to get a lot of burn. If he gets hurt, it's like, obviously don't want a player hurt, but take care of the ball, run forward, be a little bowling ball there. It's perfect. Peyton Bowen had a good punt return as well. So I thought the returning game was great. Some of the procedural stuff was pretty bad. I felt like kicking a ball out of bounds, no bueno, not good at all. So not great from Zach Schmidt there. And then obviously I believe it was a delay of game that caused OU to, instead of kicking a field goal, ended up punting. That was awful.
That pissed me off. And
that's
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something too. I hope we see more aggression from this team too whenever it comes down to SEC play. Because we looked so cowardly when it came down to fourth down and capitalizing. Like, come on now. I was just disappointed. I was just really disappointed in that delay of game. You can't lose 3 points.
No, that'll get you beat. That'll get you beat, and you got to iron that out now. Like your time to iron that out is over. It is now. Figure it out. So yeah. All right, guys. What do you say we just dive straight into Tennessee? No Cruton corner or anything, right?
Yeah. Let's do it. Well, we can hit the Floyd Picard and everything decommitting. That's been a long time standing. We're not going to do a Cruton corner. This is Tennessee week.
Yep. Folks, yeah. The moment we've been really waiting for since 2021, when we first got that news that OU and Texas were moving the SEC. We've been waiting for the first SEC game on Owen Field. And here it is. After all this time, the Sooners and the Tennessee Volunteers, Josh Heupel making his just celebrated, anticipated return back to the place that made him a legend. And he's out for revenge, as so many Tennessee fans have let me know. And guys, this is monumental. It's early in the season. Yeah, I get it, but it's a tone setter for OU's tenure in the SEC, the season, everything. You got to come out and have a good performance. This one, well, just means more.
Practice that one in the mirror a little bit before.
Maybe no, I swear it just came to me. It was a moment of inspiration. But no, so guys, let's just get it started. So what's the temperature on this? What's the level of optimism we have going into Tennessee?
I'm not too optimistic, but let me just kind of like say the pro Oklahoma argument. Really, it comes down to I feel pretty damn good about this defense. I really do. Tennessee's offense has exploded. They've got great weapons, and they've done nothing but just absolutely dominate their first three opponents. They've got great wide receivers. Chris Brazzell's looked good. Squirrel White, they got Brew McCoy, who's a lot of talent. And then their run game with Dylan Sampson has been stellar. At the same time, like they still haven't played a quality opponent at like Oklahoma. So you got to feel confident that our defense can at least show them a little bit something different than the first three games on the defensive side of the ball.
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, you'd hope so. But I feel really, really confident about our defense. And I don't know, Ty, if this is the same kind of thing where I was like, if we just see a pass rush and R. Mason Thomas, the X factor shows up, and we can get that, then it unlocks this whole other key and door opens to this defense that can put us into the upper echelon of defenses in the country, and then I see that at the end of the game in Tulane. I get that as Tulane, but I feel like if this defense can go out there and shut down Tennessee on a couple of drives and at least give our offense some positive field position to start this game to where they can get some easy points and we can control the narrative for the rest of the game, that's how you win. Winning the field position game on defense, getting up big early, or not big, just getting up early, and then maybe some turnovers. And I feel like this defense is poised that they could do something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's without a doubt setting a tone early and, getting out to a hot start is so important. We've been talking about previous big games at Owen Field because look, we just haven't had a ton of them over the past decade or so. You think about that 2016 Ohio State game, all the energy, all the hype, even with the rain delay, and Ohio State goes out and just smacks them early. And the entire energy out of the entire stadium just goes out like a bad balloon. People are leaving. It's a disaster. And if you're the Vols, I think I pronounced that right. If you're the Vols, you really want to strike fast, get them down early, get that doubt turning that, oh no, this is the big bad Vols are here to, mess us up here. But on the flip side, if Oklahoma can just start that crowd up, get them fired up, get a couple big get a turnover, some like a solid 3 and out, make Nico and them, really feel that heat, feel that pressure. I mean, that's your key to victory, especially when you think about the offensive line and what they'll be facing on the defensive end. They're going to get worn out. This Tennessee, we talk about the Vols in terms of like the offense is electric. It totally is. But my biggest concern by far is that D-line. I feel like they just grind you down, and it does concern me on that end. So I'm kind of all over the place a little bit. But I think starting hot is so necessary. OU does not win this game if OU gets down 14 early. I don't see a path to winning that.
Agreed. Totally agree with that.
Yeah, but I do want to say, we've gotten quite a few comments, and we appreciate all of them, and we want to kind of talk about it a bit. The White Wolf 42 pops in, and he brought up an interesting point. He said, I don't know a spot on the field that Oklahoma is better than Tennessee.
I got one for you. White Wolf. Developing coaches.
Oh, no, Ty!
You can't argue
he did it again!
22. It's a catch. He cannot argue it.
Oh, Ty.
What's he going to say?
What have you done?
This is just a bit. This is just a bit.
To be fair, Heupel came in ready to go from the get-go. So I don't think you could really credit the University of Tennessee for making Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel made Tennessee.
Okay, Bobby, that's going to get clipped. You're going to get
He brought them back from the depths of hell. And any Vol who wants to disagree with me, I like, let's rewind it back to the days of the McDonald's bags and the just horrible state of affairs Tennessee was in. Josh Heupel brought Tennessee back from the brink in a way that I don't think a lot of people thought would happen that quickly. And so, yeah, in a way, they didn't develop him. He just was great.
Yeah, he just rolled up and said, I'm going to put guys in the Heisman ceremony, and we're going to start beating Bama.
Yeah. I'll say this. The inside linebacking group, that's the easiest answer and understood. You know, like that's like, oh, congratulations. We got one position group that's better than Tennessee. But like our inside linebacking group, and Danny Stutzman might be the best, if not the best, inside linebacker in the country. And I don't know an argument against that.
I think our secondary is better. That Tennessee secondary is really young. They did refresh them quite a bit. Like the Vols, that is a weakness that nobody's exploited because they've been playing garbage. And look, they've taken care of garbage. That's credit to Tennessee. They're doing great on that. They're doing great on that end. But the secondary hasn't been tested yet because the best quarterback they've faced is ancient ass Grayson McCall. So
the team that was also tied 2020 going into the fourth quarter versus Louisiana Tech last week. And I understand it's still a big time win. Tennessee going in and demolishing them in Charlotte is a huge, huge win. And going into their home state and making them look embarrassing, big time win. But, it's starting to see, like, was NC State this playoff team that Bobby thought they were going to be?
God, no. Awful. The second the Western Carolina game happened, I'm like, oh, God, nope, never mind.
And we're not, and I'm saying now, we're not world beaters. But at the same time, it's like, we also have some deficiencies that we've seen earlier in our season. And we got to hope that it comes down now whenever we're playing a home game here in our home stadium. Like, we don't look like NC State, but I would like to think that our defense can bail us out on that side.
Agreed. And I their D-line is better than ours. It's deeper than ours, but I feel like, I feel like the D-line isn't like the gap isn't atrociously big, that D-line still gets after it. And I think they'll have an impact as well. Offensively, fully agree on that front. I don't think there's a single position group that OU touches remotely. But no, I think defensively, this is a pretty solid unit. And
would you say Oklahoma's defense better than Tennessee's defense?
Yeah, I would. I think holistically,
I think it's a really good argument. I think it's a really good argument. And having a really good offense makes them look even better as Tennessee's defense. Our defenses look like this with our offense. So and Tennessee's, I think that's another golden star.
I will say Tennessee, like, the numbers are showing that they're a damn good defense. I believe.
They're very good. And I think we're a damn good defense too.
I agree too.
The numbers
we're rated like second in the country.
And I hate this because I've been seeing this a lot. It's 3 games in. It's been non-con. So I would like to wait to go into the defensive rankings whenever we get a bigger sample size.
I will say the numbers can lie though a little bit, like you're saying, with the non-cons, the cupcake schedules and everything else. But I watched a good bit of tape breakdowns for Tennessee and for the defense specifically before Bobby and I, joined that pod yesterday. And their D-line is crazy. There's not just in out-athleting people, but the level that they are operating at and continuing to be involved in plays, and just the way that they're shifting, the way that they're being heads up. I mean, I was telling them and Bobby yesterday, this game is going to be won or lost, and Tennessee has been winning or losing winning all their games so far in the first 5 yards on both sides of the ball. And it's not always the line. On the offense, there's a bunch of runs and different schemes and things that they're showing in that first 5 yards that is just cooking everyone, and people don't understand it. And it truly is a beautiful sight to behold. But on the D line, for Tennessee, I think, especially from what we've seen from teams that have won national championships in the past, let's say 10 years of college football, at the college football level, the D-line is just so overpowered compared to other position groups. And you couple that with a non-existent Oklahoma run attack, and then a just decimated line, even though it's week 3, and then a quarterback who is still developing. I don't know that I I don't know. I'm trying to keep it on the OU. Who would you rather have, OU or Tennessee's defense? But that Tennessee D line is just, it almost makes you want to take the entire thing just for that position group.
I get that. I totally get that. And, whenever you have the best player in college football and James Pierce, it's duh. You just take talent and you go forward. But I've seen a lot of Tennessee fans talking about how great their defense is, and I want to give you all his roses. And I understand some of y'all have also been talking about Oklahoma's defense. But the reality of it is, I still think that this Oklahoma defense should give Tennessee some fits. We'll give them enough fits is the thing, because our offense is going to have a lot of fits on their own. Tennessee offense not going to have a lot of fits on their own. Can our defense impose on Tennessee's offense to give them fits is the biggest question. I think we can. Is it going to be enough?
Right. And I think as well, like, the defense is going to have to make Tennessee make mistakes like they haven't made mistakes all year, because they played at Neyland, which is a hell of an atmosphere, and Charlotte, where they had half the crowd.
And Nico threw 2 interceptions. So, there were some, it wasn't like absolute perfection, but I mean, how much were those interceptions that actually meant anything? Not much. But who knows, could we do something like that and capitalize it on that first half when NC State didn't do any capitalizing?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you really think about, like, obviously the past doesn't matter, and these are 2 entirely different teams, but you kind of think about like what OU did against Texas last year, where we came into this game thinking they were overmatched, especially in the trenches on the line of scrimmage. OU was able to turn Quinn Ewers over. So, like, they were able to get pressure on the Longhorns kind of out of nowhere. The offensive line was able to hold kind of out of nowhere. College football's weird like that. Sometimes you get these crazy performances that, don't seem to make sense on paper, but the sport doesn't make sense on paper. And look, if Tennessee goes in and they play exactly how we've seen, and OU plays exactly how we've seen, the Vols will win. That will happen. But the circumstances are entirely different this week. OU will be a different team, given who they have coming back. The environment will be probably one of the best we've seen in Norman ever. And, I think that will, have a pretty big impact. So I'm intrigued to see how it all shakes out. But, I will say, just from what we've seen out of Tennessee this year, yeah, if they're unaffected by everything and OU does not pressure them and does not, force them into mistakes, it's going to be a long night for the Sooners.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like we could hold Tennessee below, let's say, 31 points? Do you feel confident in that?
That's about as much.
It's a challenging number, isn't it?
So on Channel TN last week, it was last night. Jeez, that's how long it's felt. I had the final score OU 31, Tennessee 28, but that's real optimistic on stopping them. That's real optimistic, I think.
Mm-hmm. Ty, and you say no?
No, I predicted OU 42, Tennessee 35.
I will give the same
caveat that I did on the podcast yesterday with the Tennessee fans. Tune into the weekend spread on Wednesday, where I'm actually incentivized to pick correctly to see maybe what I really think on that. But I don't. Holding them below 35 is going to be, I think, a challenge. I mean, we saw their backup quarterback look very, very impressive. Again, Nico, I think, is legitimate Heisman contender. I kind of winced a little bit a second ago when one of you compared him to Texas's arguably third-string quarterback, Quinn Ewers, who has just run their pockets for so much money that they have to play him or they look like fools. But yeah, I don't see any realistic situation. I mean, we're going to have to make them one-dimensional. We're going to have to shut down their run as much as we can. But 31 points, I'm much more relying on OU to figure it out and just maybe really figure something out that's going to work against, maybe this Tennessee secondary really is what people worried about preseason, and maybe the teams they played really were that bad, and we can just figure something out there that works. But yeah, 31 is going to be really, really challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that our points need to come from short fields. It's as simple as that. Because I don't think we're scoring more than 31 points unless we get some turnovers or some, we pin them deep and we stop them 3 and outs and we get the ball in like the 45 kind of thing. That's really what it is. The defense, we've leaned on them so much this season that it's going to have to be to an extreme level this game, and they're going to have to bump it up to another level, because we have these optimism saying like, or maybe our offense can put it together and show something. I don't know if I have that same optimism about their offense that we could somehow put our run game against this defensive line whenever our offensive line hasn't showed it versus inferior opponents. And even though Nick Anderson is coming back, this is a guy coming back from an injury. He's been out for a little bit. So you're having a lot of optimism saying, hey, I can shore up my pass game because one of our best guys are coming back, but you wouldn't expect him to be 100% coming back from his first game, right?
I mean, surely not. Because there's nothing that replicates game reps at all. So, you're not expecting him to be Superman out there. You just need someone to be a threat that's not Zion Reagans or, Zion Kearney. You need more dudes, or else, Deion Burks is going to get absolutely just pummeled. And, look, there are going to be some times where that Tennessee pressure is coming and Jackson's going to have to be like, screw it, Deion or Nick Anderson's down there, and just hope he's there.
If we throw a deep ball to Deion Burks, that's something we haven't done all season. I don't know. Maybe we might see it. I'm tired of seeing like 40-yard stat lines from Deion. This guy's an electric athlete. Like, Ty, like you said, like maybe Nick Anderson coming back, even if it isn't him, Nick Anderson getting the production from the wide receiver spot and getting like, seven catches, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns, like you'd see Nick Anderson do last season. Maybe the attention of him and having a 6'4" wide receiver who can run routes and catch contested passes gives Deion Burks the leeway to not always having to do inside crossing routes and stuff like that and gimmicks, where we can get him down the field and post routes and go routes and see if he can go make some yards like that. Something we haven't been able to let him do this season because we don't have the time to throw the ball that deep to our best wide receiver. We need to keep him open in the short and intermediate routes.
Yeah. I will say, when it comes to Nick Anderson coming back and will he be 100% and will we need him at 100%? Really, and of course we all know this, but it really makes me think of, Lord Torrington in the late 1600s with the fleet and being concept, right? The idea that your fleet doesn't necessarily have to sortie and fight the enemy. Simply having a fleet in port ready to fight will be enough to deter the enemy. And obviously, you have battles like, Truck Lagoon and what our Navy did to the Japanese, and Toronto against the Italians, and really even the Falklands kind of disproved that. But if we can really bring a fleet and being out there with Nick Anderson, and essentially again just draw away the Tennessee forces from just guarding Burks.
Yeah, I
don't. If you guys haven't been keeping up on your naval history and tactics, I don't know what to tell you, but the fleet and being, that's very real tactic.
That's a Thai experience for you. I love it. Okay, well, we got to get to some of these comments just a little bit while we're at it. They first of all, love the comment section. Appreciate y'all's conversation in there. I gotta say, Fred and everyone really has been having this conversation. I thought was great. What will OU's defense take away or stop on the Tennessee offense? What will they try to take away? Obviously, we've talked about making Nico uncomfortable. A couple of people in the comments were saying that as well.
And I feel like that's a little overblown though, Bobby, because I feel like it's more forcing Nico into obvious passing downs. I feel like that's going to be the biggest thing, is getting him in 3rd and long, because our run defense and our linebackers are this kind of guys that they've relied so much on Dylan Sampson absolutely blowing it up and just doing so much that the threat of Dylan Sampson is given Nico all of the runway to do what he's done thus far. If we can take out that cog of their machine, it's something that they haven't been able. That's something that they haven't encountered yet this season.
And we gotta be like, Dylan Sampson, hell of a back. Like, Tennessee has good running backs, but this has been probably one of the things OU's defense has done at like the best is they have just jammed running backs all season long. So Sampson, I think like that will be a massive challenge for him. And if Tennessee can get him working, I mean, that's a huge sign for the Vols that, really opens up the offense. But if they jam him, Nika is going to have to really work. You're gonna have to make it hard on him because Heupel in that offense, obviously flashy. You see a lot of passing. The bedrock's on the running game though. If you really look at how they operate, so finding.
I feel damn good about our run defense, Bobby. I feel damn good about it. I'm not saying we're gonna shut Dylan Sampson down. Don't put me into the extremes. He's gonna go out and make big plays. But can we contain him and get Tennessee in 3rd and longs? I think there's going to be plays out there where you're going to show out and see, hey, this Tennessee pass offense is really damn good, but let's get them in positions where they are prone to make errors. And that's in 3rd and long.
Yep. Fred also brought up the Vols secondary shutting down Concepcion from NC State. Any issue with the OU wide receivers being too small? I feel like Anderson really helps that just in terms of size. But again, I really don't rate NC State much right now. So I'm not too concerned. I mean, unless like Anderson, I think will be a good remedy for that.
Yeah.
Also, someone says they don't consider us SEC. Well, fine.
Get with the times.
You're also completely missing an entire conference in between the Big 8 and SEC. And technically, we're not SEC yet. We haven't played an SEC game. So
Y'all
that's
voted
fine.
for us to join the conference. So if you support Tennessee, they wanted us to be in the conference. So just go ahead and just adopt.
Fair enough. Also, someone said something was giving him. Wes was saying something's giving him Dooley flashbacks. Not quite sure. But I know Derek Dooley.
Okay.
I don't. Venables ain't Derek Dooley. All right. So we've already caught up with everything. Most everything. What is there else to say? What are we missing about this ball game, Ty?
There is something. There's two big things I have for the ball game itself in whole. One I'm going to save for the very end, but I will say because I think we have a good bit of Tennessee fans watching right now. The exciting thing about this game is you won't have to wait. Like even if you don't believe in OU, you will see a fairly elite defense, and you will see some. Whether it's scripted right at the start or anything else, you'll see some high level, even just presentations of things that you have not seen before. And I think you will get a very good idea of, is this Tennessee team, what are they going to do in the playoffs? Because I think they're almost certainly in for that. And then is this a legitimate national championship contender? I think you're actually going to be able to learn a lot from this game right away, right at the start of conference play. So that should be very exciting. If you're a Tennessee fan. And then I think as an OU fan, it's not a we're going to lose game. And again, we're getting rid of those question marks right away, which I'm really excited about, right? Like we certainly could be much more prepared for this game. And, I guess maybe in the back of my mind, there's that little, I can always say that we were missing players or whatever. I don't like that excuse. We're going to get to see who we're going to be in the SEC and what this team is really going to do this year right away, which I'm really excited about. No discredit to some of the other teams. We have a lot of other tough teams on our schedule, but this one is going to be really cool for both fan bases because if Tennessee comes in here and takes care of business in Norman on game day, prime time, all the storylines and everything else, I'm going to be riding with Tennessee for the national championship for sure because I'm going to know for sure what they are.
Yeah, this is a huge game moving forward because if Tennessee comes in, they've proved absolutely everything and more. They've already done it, and this is just solidifying it straight up. And the way Georgia look versus Kentucky, I know this is just as typical. Georgia does this, and they'll just turn around. But if you're going to do a power ranking show, and I'm first take, I'm waking up in the morning. I don't want to get into all the first take people, but we're not going to talk about this. But if we're talking SEC power rankings after this game, Tennessee wins this game. And I say in any sake, this is not even a blowout. Tennessee goes out there and handles business in this game. Is there any scenario in any way that you don't put Tennessee as at number 1 in the SEC power rankings?
No. This by far would be the most impressive win of any tennis or of any SEC team.
Mhm.
I also, obviously, given the body of work too, they've looked just really, really damn good. I mean, they can beat anybody in the country. This is a team that, I think you beat Oklahoma, and let's say worst case scenario, you take care of business and you lose to Georgia and Alabama. You're still in the playoff, and you have a team that offensively is potent enough to beat anyone in the country. Defensively, especially with that D line, can beat anyone in the country. This is a college football playoff, college football national championship type team from what we've seen so far. And I think regardless of the result, Tennessee is, if you go 1-2 against OU, Alabama, and Georgia, if you go 1-2 against them, you're in. So I think the Vols have a lot ahead of them. Losing this game, I wouldn't say this is a must win for them, in the same sense that, the 12-team playoff is different. It's a must win for Josh Heupel. I'm not saying they're going to tarmac him. Please, God, do not say that. It's a must win for Josh Heupel because it would, just be so huge for his legacy and so cool if he did it. Josh Heupel obviously wants this one. So anyways, all I'm saying is I think Tennessee with a win here instantly shoots up to the top. I know they'll put Texas number 1 because that's what you do with Texas. And get used to it. SEC guys get used to it. They're going to do this garbage. And look, if you find us annoying, wait until you deal with them. You won't have to deal with them for the next couple more years, but God, they're awful. So
I do have to say real quick before we move into closing here. Someone in the comments said chasing money ends up killing your program. See Arkansas and Nebraska. Let's just be clear. Arkansas has never been relevant nationally in football.
No, God, no.
Arkansas, they have an national championship.
They were great in the 60s.
They have Ann Natty in the 60s.
I mean, they were relevant in the 60s for sure.
Okay. So they chased money in the 60s and now they're not relevant. This is for another time.
I think many Tennessee fans have said that we are not Nebraska, we are not Arkansas, and they respect that. And obviously we might be going down in a slump right now of like where we have been in the past, but we've been very damn consistent. We're a blue blood in college football. So there's not an argument on that.
OU's had one bad decade, one singular bad decade, the 90s. And that's it. Like, this is one of the most consistent programs in college football. I'm not saying that they're not recession proof. Obviously, they're a team that could dip under certain circumstances, but as an organization, as a university, they just don't go through lulls like that. They just don't. Oklahoma is going to be fine in the SEC.
It's not a good take. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to try to be politically correct here. It's just not a good take. Just do some more research. Next.
We're not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with us. But no, not a good take. OU fits here. I like it a lot. We totally.
Let's talk college game day.
College game day. First time in Norman proper. We're going to ignore the 2020 season for obvious reasons. Not the same. First time since 2012 against Notre Dame. Jameson, you and I were there.
One of the worst days in Oklahoma sports history.
The worst day probably the worst day in Oklahoma sports history. Lose to Notre Dame and James Harden gets traded in the middle. So that sucked. But yeah, big time event. South Oval. Can't wait. It feels a lot bigger too. Like game day's kind of gotten bigger over the years. So, you got, the McAfee show and everything going on Friday. And it just, I don't know. It has a lot of weight to it. I'm excited about it. And I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on game day?
Ty's a big game day guy.
I am. Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about this. Like I've had to watch more games on TV than y'all. So that was, kind of, just Saturdays for a long time was tuned into the game day. Now that I'm out on Pacific time, a little more rough. It's a game day becomes a little less appealing when I got to get up at like 5 o'clock on a Saturday. But it's I'm excited. I have some thoughts on where it would ideally be placed, but the South Oval is probably the second best option in my opinion. A lot of people would argue it's the best option. I'm not going to. I just think there's a really cool thing that we could do with it, but I'm super, super excited for South Oval. It's going to show the university well. It's going to show, all the beautiful buildings there. Check out our pod where we rank the buildings on campus. And
Tennessee fans, do not watch the building video. You won't understand anything. Sorry.
It's not going to help you when you visit.
Do you know what patch of grass that game day is actually going to be on, Bobby?
I hope they put the stage in the bowl.
It is in the bowl. It's not the it's like right in the bowl of the South Oval. I think it's going to be the exact same that it was for Notre Dame.
Like in the little
right in front of the
Notre Dame was in the north. Notre Dame was in the North Oval, I thought.
No, it was in the South. It was in the South.
Okay. I don't remember.
No, I remember this one.
That's something my long-term memory, man. That's just not my thing. That's a Bobby thing. I lean on you for that stuff.
Yeah, no, because I have it all charted out, so that's where. But no,
I just remember our friend that we went with. Wait, no, that was Oklahoma State where he lost his Gumby costume.
No, that was Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, okay, that was Notre Dame. Oh, that's such a bummer to lose a costume of Gumby. But yeah, it's a throwback and it feels fun. We talk about game days in Norman with the open carry. You walk around, but that's just something like you have to walk around and see it. We've always talked about doing game days right. Is like you are nomad. You do not stay in one place. I understand Bobby is stuck to his tailgate. Tough luck, Bobby. But
tailgate.
For me, your tailgate's great. But for me, coming in, I will be a nomad. I will peruse throughout the campus and see what is going on. And I want to see what game day is working like earlier on Saturday before I go in and do my tailgating duties for the rest of the day. I'm really excited to kind of see how things are. I'm not going to sit there and watch game day. That's a thing of the past. But will I be excited to kind of just see what it looks like on campus? It's going to be wonderful. And and the big question we want to talk about is who's going to be our guest picker?
It's tough because I don't know if there's a clear answer right now. I mean, you can talk about Trae Young did it last time in 2020. I don't know if I love that. Him coming back.
He's not going to do it this year. The public view of Trae Young has changed so much since 2020 in basketball. Like people view him almost as a negative asset in some lights, which is ridiculously wrong. But he does not garner the respect. So I don't think it's going to be him.
No. Yeah,
it's not going to be Baker again. Baker's already done it.
No, and Baker
did Big Noon, didn't he?
No. He did game day, but he had a bye week, and that's why he was able to do it.
Exactly. So NFL players, you're not going to have a bye week in week 3. So I think that you can get Jason White and he's going to wear Air Comfort Solutions and Janko jeans.
No offense. God, now everyone's going to go after me for not liking Jason White, but I love the guy.
You don't want to see the Janko jeans?
Jason White. No, now if he has Janko jeans, I'm in on that. Yeah.
Yes, I want him standing up, not behind the podium. I just want him off, like when David Pollock was on game day and he just stood off to the side in the little Misfits stuff. Like we got Jason White over here. We're not giving him a seat. We just have to make him stand up and wear his Janko jeans.
Right. And not only that, but yeah, have Corso wear the Jinkos. It would be great.
Coming out, pick OU.
Yeah.
Comes out. He's going to fall and break his hip, Bobby. We can't do that.
That's funny. I've seen a couple people mention, someone brought up the idea of John Mulaney, who is married to OU alumna Olivia Munn. But that seems like a bit of a stretch. Bill Hader, who is an Oklahoman but didn't go to OU, that's a bit of a stretch as well. I don't know. You could do Blake Griffin, I guess. That's decent. I think it's just a little tricky.
Is Ed Harris an option?
Ed Harris could be interesting. That's not a bad option. Bring out the man in black, full outfit could be kind of cool.
There's a
pretty damn
very
cool.
obvious choice here. Someone mentioned one of my choices, of course, Gerald McCoy, the best OU Sooners to ever play
Which
in
would
the
be a
NFL.
wonderful one. That'd be a pretty damn good
He
one.
would actually be a good one. Garth Brooks is an Oklahoma State fan. Show star.
If we had Garth Brooks, we wouldn't be having a problem with the third quarter, fourth quarter song. We would just play Friends in Low Places and be done with it. God, I wish we had Garth. God, I wish we had Garth.
OU versus Tennessee game day. OU's special guest picker Mike Gundy. No, I think you gotta. If I'm ESPN, I'm going to Switzer first. It seems like he's never done it. He's going to show up. He's been making some appearances. I've seen him out and about, seen him getting posted. And he loves it. He's going to be there. And I think that's maybe a little more obvious choice to me when I start to look at former OU players and former OU coaches, because that's one that's going to be entertaining. He's going to be good. He's going to bring the good vibe, and I think could be a little more, still a homer, but it's not going to bring any sort of implications for any, relationships or potential dramas and storylines that there might be.
Dude, it's wild. He's 86 years old. That is wild.
That's kind of wild. Yeah. Yeah, good old Switzer. He's been going at it for a while.
If we can think back, like how many of your guest pickers are like on the elderly stage though? Usually they pick someone with like a pop of attitude and like really like young.
With OU, yeah.
Harris Switzer still has a lot of attitude. I'm not saying he doesn't, but but usually they pick more someone in the younger side of things.
Yeah.
I think Gerald McCoy is a pretty damn good pick.
Gerald McCoy is a great pick. I actually do really like Gerald McCoy there. I saw someone throw out Patty Gasso. I think that's a decent pick. Like that's all right. I love Patty, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't think it'll be Bob Stoops just because he already put out a statement this week being like, I don't want any interviews. I think they're both good.
Way Bob Stoops is going to go on there. He wants nothing to do with that.
It's also a big noon guy though. So I'm probably not going to do that. But no, the Boz maybe. I know he's done it in the past. Could see him come back.
That's another good option.
But I don't know. It's going to be intriguing to see it.
I just hope it's not someone. I'm sorry. I was sorry. No, I was going to say, I just hope it's not some like random celebrity that's just not really related to OU. I hate when they do that.
That's always the worst. And I don't think it will be because I think OU has some good names.
Yeah, there's been some iconic ones, right? Like Katy Perry at Ole Miss. If we can get Taylor Swift, then for sure. Right, sorry.
Oh God, not Katy Perry! Don't! How dare you bring her?
Swift, but
if Katy Perry shows up to College Game Day in Norman, I think people will actually lose their mind.
You know who actually is like weirdly an OU fan, and I don't actually know the connection. Lana Del Rey.
That's true. Yeah, she is. She was at the Convo last year.
Games of her own accord. Yeah.
Lana Del Rey actually feels like that. That's a good one. That's a good one. Like if we're putting out,
and she taught college football. I'm not trying to be sexist here, but do you think she knows ball?
I mean, if she knows ball enough to show up to OU Texas on her own, I don't know.
That's true.
Fred asked, first of all, he said, don't boo Corso. We don't boo Corso. We love Corso because
we love Corso. I picked him as one of my favorite analysts.
Corso is his OU picks are also those are some of his best picks. It's the Duck #1, and then OU is really high up there.
He just wants to shoot the gun. He just wants to shoot the gun. He might just pick OU just to shoot the gun, guys. Tennessee. Okay, if you're a Tennessee fan listening,
the volunteer. They do have a volunteer, right? Or am I just?
Do they have a gun? I don't even know. Tennessee fans help us here. Do
y'all have a gun? Are you just imagining West Virginia's mascot?
I might be. I think I'm just imagining West Virginia's mascot. Y'all don't have someone with a musket, do you?
No, let us know. That is not ringing a bell.
No, they do not have that, right?
You said it confident enough where I Snap said yes, but now I'm I don't know. But I think if Lee picks straight up OU, don't call Lee a ball not knower. That man writes notes every single day, and he just wants to shoot a gun. Just let the man shoot his gun.
Not only that, but Corso, probably close to College Game Day retirement. Yeah, he doesn't go to OU enough You don't know how many game days he has left to, like, as a member of College Game Day, to shoot the gun. He's going to shoot the gun. You got it. You got to take advantage and shoot that roughneck gun.
Didn't he shoot the gun last time and then still pick the other team?
I think he might have. I
know that someone I think Kirk had to like spot him whenever he shot the gun, or else it would just make him fly off because like he's very unstable shooting the gun.
Okay, they do have a Davy Crockett guy. So okay.
But does the musket shoot? But does the musket shoot? Can we shoot the musket?
I mean, I would hope so, right? Surely if you have a musket, you got to shoot it.
Could just be a prop gun.
Yeah, okay. I trust them. Yeah, okay. So I'm not crazy.
Does the musket shoot? That is what we need to know for Corso's prediction.
Okay, my opinion on this changes quite differently if he has two options where he can shoot a gun, because he's a wild card whenever he can do that. Watch him just put on Pistol Pete's head and do it anyways. He picks Tennessee and just Pistol Pete for some reason. For Corso, he'll shoot. That's great. We'll see how it goes. I will say, TriStar in the comments knows a damn good amount about OU Storm Chasers and meteorology, or Oklahoma. Dropping Val Castor in the comments. Damn, I like to see it. Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert. That's a good one. I don't know where his loyalties lie.
I think I'm with Ty on that one.
Well, they're broken up.
I would be disappointed with that one.
They're broken up, so it'd be Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani. But Gwen Stefani.
I don't know. I kind of want a big OU guy. Now that I've thought about it, I think I'm against the celebrity.
It's got to be an OU celebrity.
And if they're a celebrity, I want them to they've already been acclimated with the OU program, like they've been in some of our advertisement videos and stuff like that.
Could put on Brad Pitt. He wore an OU shirt to the Rose Bowl at one time.
He did.
He was from Oklahoma.
Missouri grad. That would be pretty hilarious. Brad Pitt, Missouri grad showing up and picking OU. But I don't know. I think we've exhausted this topic. All right.
Bosworth is, I think, leading candidate.
Yeah, I put Bosworth at probably minus 150. Or no, I'm not gonna go minus, plus 150. Just with the whole Dr. Pepper thing too. I can see the Boz absolutely being up there. So I'm gonna go Boz up there. The Nathan Followill of Kings of Leon would be higher, but he did it last time, so I don't see that being a repeat. But no, I don't know. I'm intrigued to see it. So sneaky one we haven't mentioned, Jim Ross. I don't think JR's ever done it. And you got McAfee on there, so you already got the WWE thing kind of going. I don't know. It could be electric. Is
Jim Ross healthy right now? No joke. I'm not joking. Is he healthy enough to do it? Because I know he's been in and out in the hospital.
Oh, I don't know. He was on Conversations with Coach last year. I remember that. And he seemed decent, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
They bring on Mark Mangino? It would be great.
There it is. There's the one we need.
Mangino for no reason. Just confuse everyone with a deep cut.
I'm really skimming. Is Wiz Khalifa from Oklahoma?
Pardon me?
What? No. Okay.
Let me see. Oh, no. Sorry. Looks like maybe one of his parents was in the Air Force. He's from North Dakota, but he grew up in Altus, I guess.
Oh, well, okay. JR is actually battling cancer. So hope he's doing well. That's a real bummer. Okay. So that we've gone on for an hour, 23 minutes, which I think is fair. This is probably the biggest home game OU's had since we've started the podcast. Any final notes for Tennessee fans going to Norman this weekend? I kind of think you just overall roam at night, stay away from Campus Quarter because unless you're young, because that's kind of not the scene. But I don't know. Ty, what do you think?
Tennessee fans, if you are flying, we're not going to endorse or not endorse any business. But if you are flying into or out of the Oklahoma City airport, be wary of a coffee place that might have a little 3-wheeled vehicle right there. Your stomach might have a hard time with that coffee.
They eliminated the Tuk Tuk.
Oh, the Tuk Tuk coffee is gone. Okay, good.
Tuk Tuk's gone, boys. Tuk Tuk's
Thank
gone.
goodness. Okay, Tennessee fans, you are safe at the airport. The Tuk Tuk coffee is gone. I know storm chasing is big right now, and it's obviously an Oklahoma thing. The National Weather Center is on campus. at the sort of, what is that, the southeast end. I believe they have might be shut off a little bit for the game, but you might want to look ahead. You can do a little tour there, see some cool stuff as well if you're getting your storm chasing kick in from Twisters.
Yeah, they have the Dorothy prop from Twisters 1 or just
fun.
Twister. So that's pretty neat. So that would be a pretty cool one. Yeah, Jameson?
I'll say, like, big picture for Tennessee fans coming in, like, I would say that we're a pretty accepting fan base. We will like to kind of go back and forth, and like we're all in fun competition, but we're very excited to see people coming into town and seeing y'all room through and just have a good competition. So just enjoy the process. We should be hospitable. Come by. If you see any of us, just give us a little hi. And, Bobby's got his tailgate, so I'm sure you have open arms to all fans coming, right, Bobby?
It's an extreme BYOB. Might have to throw some locks. Might have to throw some locks on the cooler.
Extreme BYOB.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Bobby, I just put him on the spot. But in all honesty, I'm just saying big picture. Like, we're excited to have y'all here. We're excited for big game. We love competition. It's going to be a lot of fun. Whoever wins, it's going to be a blast. That's why we love football.
Absolutely. And this is why we're so thrilled to be in the SEC, because of fan bases like y'all, because of teams like y'all, programs like y'all with history and passion, people who will look to 2 weeks in advance and try to see if they can see if anyone's talking crap on a tiny little podcast. Like, I love that about y'all. Like, Tennessee has absolutely shown out. It's a great welcome to the SEC. It's been fun, and the Sooner fans are going to welcome you. We're very hospitable, and I think we're going to have a hell of a time, and it should be a pretty fun weekend, to say the least. People asking about parking. If you're driving, find someone's yard. Make sure to bring cash. That's a solid move. If you get there early, I'm not going to ruin that one for the Sooner fans. Never mind. I'm going to gatekeep that one for the OU fans. That parking tip. Lloyd Noble has a decent option with the shuttle, but you don't really want to, rely on a shuttle. Just find a yard somewhere, the church, something like that. You can, if you're driving, and regardless, just Uber if you're at a hotel. It's always a good option. So, anyways, should be a really fun weekend. If you're in Oklahoma City, stop by the National Memorial, not on game day. It's truly touching, incredibly special scene. You got to check it out. It's a can't miss spot, to say the least. So anyways, that's my two cents here. Y'all have a hell of a weekend. Looking forward to seeing some of you Vols down there. And, but hey, on game day, it's all out war, baby. We got too much riding on the line. After all the crap we talked, all the reaction we got. Okay. Ty and hey, we just finished the podcast. There's
two of you said something negative about Josh Heupel. I never said anything negative.
I actually did kind of say something negative about Josh Heupel, and I didn't really realize it until it got brought up on Channel TN. But no, like there's definitely going to be clips from this show. If they want to go back to the well, there's stuff they could pull for bulletin board material. I'm sure. But we'll see how it goes. So, anyways, let's have one hell of a game week, and we'll be back on Wednesday to make our picks for this game and the rest of our slate. Have a good one, everybody. Boomer Sooner.